something that is happening far off in the South Pacific Ocean is going to affect the food prices, it is going to affect the food on the plate, and it is also going to affect the whole of the India's economy. You ask why? The reason being, El Nino, which always affects Indian monsoon in the bad way, has turned into a Godzilla. That means the effects of the El Nino would be amplified, and so will be the deficit itself. So let us understand that what exactly is going to unfold. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we are going to understand that what exactly is El Nino, why it has been amplified, why we should be worried about it, and everything around. So let us begin with understanding that what exactly we are expecting as of now. So as of now, the climate scientists are clearly predicting that what we are seeing is emergence of a very strong El Nino, especially when we are talking about 2026-27, and we are comparing it with what we have already seen in a form of very strong El Nino in 2015-16. Now this was the time that the term Godzilla, please remember, this is not a technical term. The term has been picked up by media, and this is how very strong event of El Nino is labeled as. Now this is something that we are expecting on the very level or probably more of 2015-16, and that is why India might see one of the weakest monsoon that we have seen in last 10 years. Now this clearly shows us that we are in a problematic situation, because this weak monsoon is not something just that there will be lesser rainfall. This is going to affect the agriculture, this is going to affect the food inflation, water security, and overall economic growth as well. Rain, which is expected to bring respite, might not be the same one this very year. So now let us begin understanding that what exactly is El Nino and what problem we are expecting here in this particular context. So when we are talking about El Nino, before looking at the diagram, let me do some visualization for you. Don't see this as South Pacific Ocean, see this as a huge bathtub, okay? Now when you imagine this as a bathtub, you have to remember that warm water is here, and what we are seeing, presence of cold water this side. And let's imagine another thing here, that we have a fan right here. Now because of that fan, which is generating winds, warm water is moving further in this direction. Now ocean warm water will lead to evaporation and formation of clouds, which will lead to rainfall as well, which will facilitate the monsoon, which will help the monsoon. Now this is what usually happens in the Southern Pacific Ocean. This is a neutral condition that we always see. But in certain situation, let's just say if this wind becomes weak, if this fan is turned off for any reason at all, what will happen? This warm water might shift to this side as well. Now this side will be warmer than normal, and this is where the rainfall used to add up, that might not take place. And you have to remember, I am talking about the Australia side on this end. There is also a situation where on this end the warm water intensifies because the fan turns to a higher speed. But when the fan is turned off and the warming does not take place near Australia, it is rather on the South American end, this is exactly the situation of El Nino, where the trade winds are weakened, the water circulation is weakened, and because of that we see that usual than warmer water is present on the South American side of Pacific Ocean. So what does this do? This leads to a situation where we are seeing trade winds are weakened. Furthermore, we are also seeing that warm waters shift eastward, and that is why the atmospheric circulation which is present there, that gets changed globally. And this whole cycle of neutral phase, warm phase and cool phase is known as the ENSO cycle. That is El Nino La Nina Southern Oscillation Cycle. Now we have understood what exactly an El Nino situation looks like. We have also got a brief insight into that how this helps Indian monsoon. Now let us move to understand that why this year we are expecting a Godzilla El Nino. What are the signs and what exactly is being pointed out to us? So as of now, based on the climate experts and the scientists that we have understood, they are saying that the subsurface heat accumulation in Pacific Ocean is high. And this is where the high range of change we are seeing. That is why there is another thing that this has added to, that the global ocean temperature has also increased. Now another factor that we need to remember, that last winter, then we were talking about intensified winter which is happening because of extreme La Nina conditions. This is where we are seeing that La Nina, the cool phase was extended and we are transitioning from it. So the transition is taking place and the impact would be coming way too strong. And apart from that, we cannot ignore something as big as climate change. That means climate change is happening and it is rather amplifying the present natural climatic cycles. One of the climatic cycles being the ENSO cycle itself. So the record temperature, the transition from prolonged La Nina and also massive subsurface temperature indicate that yes, the El Nino this time might be stronger than usual. Is it the first time that we are going to see El Nino of such high intensity? So the answer here is no. We have previously seen very strong El Nino back in 1982-3, 1997-98, 2015-16 cycle, and we are expecting one as of now. Now this is where you will see similarly Indian monsoon has been equally affected, and these are the seasons where India has also seen weaker or deficit monsoons. Now let us also very briefly understand that how monsoon is directly impacted by Pacific Ocean's warming. Now this particular diagram will clearly show you the dry regions which exist during El Nino, and you will find that India is amongst the dry region, marked dry region. It will be June to September and then Jan to April. If El Nino, then this is a dry region which is marked. Now in this context, let us understand the whole cycle. We are talking about Pacific Ocean warming up more than usual. Trade winds are weakened, Pacific Ocean has warmed up. Now because Pacific Ocean has warmed up, the water circulation that exists, that is also bound to be weakened. How that happens? Let's discuss that right now. Now when we are looking at water circulation, do you remember the bathtub we talked about? Just above that bathtub, we have a east to west moving circulation. Now what is this circulation of? This is circulation of nothing but air. This is an air loop that has been created. Now because the warming which used to be here, now it has shifted here, this cycle becomes weakened, which is placed like this. When this cycle becomes weak, the monsoon winds which are present, they are also weakened in this very region, which leads to reduced rainfall over India. And as I said, the years where we have seen intensive El Nino, we have also seen drought-like situation in India. And this is why El Nino and the discussion around it is important, because this helps us in understanding that what kind of monsoon we can expect, because monsoon still remains a very important pillar of our economy where it contributes 75% of India's rainfall. It supports food production, it supports water security, and it is also critical for energy, hydropower in this very context. Now as a result, in coming times, what we might expect is that we are going to see limited production of especially pulses, oilseeds. This will lead to increased prices of food, where prices of cereals, vegetables, edibles, oils will increase. Water security will be in a big question, because the reservoirs might start to deplete, which are dependent on monsoon, and groundwater recharge will not be able to happen, leading to groundwater stress as well. That is not it. We also might end up looking at a situation where there is extreme weather, the power demand would increase, and all of this will accumulate into rural distress, high inflation, and pressure on government finances. That means all in all, the economy of our country would be put through a huge stress test yet again, where we are already seeing one because of the global shocks. And in this very context, don't think that it is just going to impact India. This is also going to have global impact, where, for example, Australia, which has already started to see bushfires, it is expected to handle droughts and more bushfires this year. Southeast Asia, which is dependent on the same monsoon that we are talking about, that is also going to look at water shortage and crop losses. South America, this is the region when El Nino comes, it is going into water surplus. So this is the region which will have infrastructure damage because of the reverse situation, that is floods. And all of this, and also in Africa, we are going to see situations of extreme food insecurity, which has multiple underdeveloped and least developed countries. Humanitarian stress because of the very same reason. And this clearly shows that this calls for preparedness, not just for this particular monsoon, but for longer term, where India's answer should be climate resilient agriculture, where we are not just dependent on monsoon for irrigation. We are looking at crop diversification, water conservation measures, and heat wave action plans. Because one thing is very sure, the natural cycles might have their own rhythm, but the consequences are going to be amplified to the extremes because of the climate change that is happening. If we don't want to suffer, we have to accommodate climate resilience in every aspect of our life. Now that was all from my side. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll be leaving you here with a prelims practice question. Let me know the answer to this in the comment section. I'll be waiting for your answers. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.